Okay, I'm gonna do a video today that I've wanted to do for a while. This is a big passion of mine. Black powder hunting, black powder shooting. I'm gonna show you some stuff in the field here, and then I'm gonna show you other stuff back at the house. You know, different things and different techniques and different tools and stuff you'd use for hunting. Today I'm gonna show you how to load and shoot a muzzle loader. Now this is not, it's a flintlock. It's not an inline muzzle loader. This is a real muzzle loader. The Davy Crockett special. I do have to thank my father-in-law for getting me into this. He started me with this and it just rolled like a snowball. He was the one who introduced me to this. There's no black powder shooting or hunting in Ireland where I came from, so this is something that started when I moved to the US. This is my favorite black powder rifle. I have a few. I have some modern ones as well. Like I said, this is a flintlock. You can see the lock action on it. This is your hammer, your flint. This is a fizzing. This is a powder pan. And then if you look really close, right here, that's your touch hole. That's where the powder burns through to the charge that's in the barrel. This is, as you can see, has fixed iron sights. Front bladed sight. You can see the ramrod on the bottom there. You see the big old hole. This is a 54 caliber, so it's pretty big. And then you got, this is an adjustable rear sight. Some of them do have fixed sights. This gun is really designed for hunting. It's a carbine. You can see it's pretty short. It hits hard though at short ranges. These guns are not really made for long range shooting. They're made for short range, you know, under 100 yards. You can kill a deer at 100 yards with this, make no mistake. You know, you can hunt elk, moose, bear, anything with this gun. It uses big powder charges and it uses big heavy lead balls. I will say this, that the flintlock guns like this, they have relatively quick rifling. It's usually 1 in 66 or 1 in 68 rifle twist. That means it's designed to shoot a patched round ball. If you look at a lot of modern guns, that like inline muzzle loaders, they would have a 1 in 28 twist. So those are designed to shoot conical bullets or sabots. That's what they're made for. They're not made to shoot patched round balls, and they won't get good accuracy with patched round balls, just like this gun won't get really good accuracy with a sabot. It's designed to shoot a patched round ball. They're pretty simple, but there's a couple of different things you have to take into account when you're loading them. Every time you shoot a muzzle loader, you're basically hand loading. You're going to load your charge every time. You get one shot. Some of them you can get 2 barrels. Some fancy ones you can get 2 barrels. Those guns are not legal for hunting in the state of Pennsylvania. In the flintlock season, you have to have a single barrel. You can see here I have a sling mounted on this one too. You can see it has a double trigger. This is a set trigger. So when I cock the hammer back, it locks the hammer, and then I would pull the set trigger, and that makes the front trigger a very light hair trigger. I mean, very light. 2 pounds maybe, like a match, you know, competition rifle trigger. That's why you see the 2 triggers on it here. It doesn't have 2 barrels. One is a set trigger, and then one is the hair trigger once the set trigger has been pulled. Now you're gonna load the, of course, muzzle loader. You're gonna load it from the front of the barrel. It doesn't use a cartridge. That came much later than this. So when you're loading it, if I have it, I usually would rest it on my foot, rest the butt of the gun on my foot. When you're loading it, don't ever have it over yourself. Always have it pointing away from yourself. Remember, you're pushing a projectile down over a charge. So you don't ever want to do this. That's bad. Don't do that. Always, you're going to load your flint area last. Don't put powder in the flint pan and stuff first. You always do that last. You're going to load your powder charge from your barrel. Another thing is that don't load it from a powder horn or a powder flask. That's basically a grenade waiting to go off in your hand. especially if you've just shot the gun and you're going to reload it again. You could have an ember burning down in the barrel. You don't want to have a keg of a pound of powder in your hand and then go pour it down there, because it'll go off like a fountain and blow up in your hand. Always load it from a pre-measure or a powder measure, that you're only putting the amount of powder you're going to use in it. Now for this rifle, for hunting, I use between 100 and 110 grains depending on the weight of the bullet I'm going to shoot out of it. 100 grains shoots really good out of this rifle. That's something that you have to, try out at a range and see which load shoots most accurately for you. But I use 100 grains. Now the powder that you're going to use is 2 FG for a charge in your barrel. The powder you're going to use is 2 FG. There's 3 FG powder, and then there's 4 FG powder, and they're all for different purposes. Some guys load modern guns, they'll put 3 FG powder in it because it burns faster than 2 FG. That way you go higher pressure, more velocity. You don't want to be messing around with that. You only need 2 FG. Now I'm not going to use black powder substitutes. You can get Pyrodex 777, things like that, which are not real black powder. I only shoot real black powder in these guns. It does foul a lot. When you shoot it, you're going to have to clean it, because you maybe get 2 shots out of it, and there's so much fouling in the barrel, and you're going to have to clean it. But you'll see that later. For your pan powder, you're going to use 4 FG powder, which is really, really fine. It's much finer because you want it to burn faster. That you would only use that for the ignition. You would never load that in the barrel of the gun because it builds up too much pressure too quickly. Black powder is not like smokeless powder. It burns much slower and much lower pressure. You would never ever put smokeless powder in a black powder rifle. There are rifles on the market that are capable of using smokeless powder. They're very specialized. They're pretty rare. You never ever want to put smokeless powder like from a modern cartridge into a black powder gun. That's a pipe bomb waiting to go off, and you don't want to be holding it when it does go off. But I'll show you now how we're gonna load it up. I have my bag here. We're going to use a ball starter. I open my little case here. Powder measure. Now here, this is a speed loader for a muzzle loader. I know people are used to speed loaders for handguns, but this is a speed loader for a muzzle loader. On this end of this, I have the patch on the ball already preloaded into it. There it is. That's the ball. You can see the pillow patching around it. Then on this end of it is the powder. So what I'm going to do is flip it upside down, pop the cap, pour the powder into the barrel, give it a shake. Remember, always face the muzzle away from you when you're loading the gun. Don't forget, you're loading a gun and it's going to be pointing at you. Use our ball starter, push the ball down. I'll just get it started there so I can show you. Just have it started. Now it's going to be a tight fit because the bullet is going to want to engage the rifling. So we'd use this end of the ball starter. Take my ramrod out of the way. Push down with the palm ball. That's just barely starts it in the cone of the muzzle. And switch it to the ram part of the ball. That way you push it down. And I'm going to use my ramrod. And push it down till it seats. You don't need to be doing this stuff. Don't do that. All you're doing is defacing the face of your ball, and it's not going to fly properly. Just push it down till it seats, till it's firm. You want to make sure it's seated all the way. You don't want an air pocket there. You don't want an air pocket with your powder on the ball. That's not good. You can see that the tip of my ramrod here, it's also a powder jag, or a patch jag, should I say. This is the same bore as the rifle, so you can slide it down into it. And then I can engage that back in the gun. Now, for carrying purposes, this gun is not considered loaded until I have powder in the breech. In the state of Pennsylvania, I can't have a loaded firearm in the vehicle, unloaded hunting firearm. This is not considered loaded until I have powder in the breech. Of course, you never want to carry it like that. I can empty the powder out of the breech when I'm done hunting, and if I want to move to another area, I can clear the powder out of here and make sure there's, you know, leave it down in the off-cock position, and it's perfectly safe to transport like that. You do not want to store your gun with black powder in it. Black powder is very, very corrosive. It's hygroscopic, so it absorbs moisture from the atmosphere very, very quickly, especially after you shoot it. Once I shoot this rifle, it's like I said, it's going to be full of fouling, and all that fouling is going to attract moisture. It's because of what the black powder is made of. The saltpeter, charcoal, all that good stuff in it. You want to clean it as quickly as you can after you shoot it. Now, I won't clean it properly until I get home, but even after I won't transport the gun when it's loaded. I'll unload it in the field. I'll shoot it into the ground, or shoot it into the stump, you know, an old tree stump or something like that, and that way it's safe. It's safe to unload it like that, and then transport it like that. I won't store it loaded. If you're gonna carry it and you're gonna move it from one location to another site, like I'm gonna hunt in this field, and now later on I'm gonna hunt 10 miles away, you've got to be careful because it's pretty cold today. It's probably 15-20 degrees, wind chill colder than that, so the steel in the barrel is going to get cold. Now, when I put this cold barrel and I put it in my truck, and then I heat the truck up when I'm driving, the barrel is going to get hot, and what's going to happen is it's going to condensate on the inside, and the black powder is going to absorb all that moisture, and then when you go to shoot the gun, it won't go off. That's a real pain. Trust me, that is a real pain. That involves different techniques to have to get the ball out of the barrel. It's tricky, but there are ways to do it. You can use a screw ball puller and stuff to pull the ball out of the barrel. You want to try and avoid that situation though. So if you're gonna store the gun, try to keep it cold, and instead of getting it hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold, you don't want to do that. There's an interesting tool here that I got. This is called a cow's knee. Now, like I said, black powder is very susceptible to water, so if you're hunting in the rain or the snow, this is a pan cover. So what it would do is, once you have your powder on your pan, it sits over the gun, like so, and it protects my lock from rain or from snow. Because if you get water in there, you're done. That gun is not going to work. It's not going to fire. Then to shoot it, you would just take it off. It's corded, so I can actually have it tethered to the gun. Now, to finish the loading on this, we're going to load the pan. So what I would do is go to half cock, you pull the fizzing all the way forward. I have here a pan flask. You can see how it's pretty small. Now what it's going to do is, when I push on that little tip, it's going to pour the powder out of the flask into my pan. So I'm going to give it a couple of pushes in the pan. You don't want to fill the pan with powder. It doesn't need to be full of powder. If you fill it 1/3 full, can you see that? That's all you need. You only need a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is tilt the gun and then shake the powder down into the touch hole. Once my touch hole is full, I'll put a little bit more in there, and then I'll close my pan. That's going to keep the powder in there from moving around. Now this gun is loaded, so I'm not going to put it in my vehicle. This is loaded, ready to go. Obviously, to shoot the gun, you're going to go one more to full cock, then you're going to prime the trigger, and then you're going to use your hair trigger to shoot the gun. You can see I have different tools on my lanyard here. I have a powder brush, I have a touch hole pick. That's for picking the powder into the touch hole, and then my powder flask. So usually I would wear this for when I have to reload my gun quickly. I'll keep it handy to access it quickly. And at this point, we're ready to go. Put my stuff back in my possibles bag. And we'll be back to unload it later, unless we get a deer.